Hello students. This video we're going to cover the second part of chapter 1. The first part covered the .NET framework and a little high level of what C# is and the CLR, being able to compile all of the different languages down into a common language runtime that runs on your Windows machine. So if you want to follow along, I'm going to start around slide 11 on the chapter 1 slides, and we're going to start covering the Visual Studio IDE. So I am using Visual Studio 2017. If you're using 2019, things might look a little bit differently, but it shouldn't be too different. Here in Visual Studio 2017, it comes to a start page that it makes things a little easier to get to on the start page. It even gives you some things from Microsoft if you want to click anything cool over here. Build your first app in 5 minutes, whatever. A lot of nice to haves. But the main things that you'll find useful at this point is the new project window. So if you want to start a new project, it kind of learns the projects that you've clicked on or that you've started most recently. And then also you can open a project or solution up here. You can get to these as well by using the File menu. File, New, Project, Open, Project or Solution. I've already started our first Windows Forms application here that I'm going to click on, but I'll go ahead and take you through the prompts of how you can create that yourself. So if you go up here, File, New, Project, it'll take you to a new project dialog window. And it will show you all of the different types of projects that you can use in Visual Studio. So we've already covered a few of them when we had the last lecture on chapter 1. As you can see in the new project window, you can have a new WPF app or Windows Presentation Foundation that we talked about very briefly in the previous episode. You also have a console app that we've done a lot in Java, but we won't cover much in C#. It's not too different. You'll have a public static void main with anything else. What else was in the previous video? Here's our ASP.NET. Those are our web applications. Here's our .NET Standard. I don't think I have a lot of the web application installed on this machine, so you won't see a lot of what we talked about. Here you have WCF, which is Windows Communication Foundation. It's a way to start a service. So you might not have a user interface, but ways to get data back and forth to your application from a data store. And then here's all of the other programming languages that are supported in Visual Studio. So here's Visual Basic, Visual C++, Visual F#. But the one we'll be working with here is Visual C#, and then you can get to it via the Windows Desktop, Windows Form app, and then from there you can give your application a name, a location. It makes it easier to go back to your application and open it if maybe you're not in your Visual Studio already. And then here's your target.NET framework, but we're just going to leave that as 4.5.2 for now. If yours is different, like 4.6.1 or 4.6.2, it's not a huge deal, so don't worry too much about the .NET framework. I would just use the one that's selected by default here. And then once you click OK, it should start to build your application, and I'll click on this one to show you a little bit about what it will look like when it comes up. So here's your blank form in your Windows Form application, and then on the left hand side is a toolbox that you can use to click and drag things over to your form. So don't be too overwhelmed by all of the stuff in the window on the left. We'll only be using probably 7 or 8 actual items over here, but you can click and drag, say, a button over to give your form a little bit of functionality. You can resize it. If you've already taken Java 2, this might be a little bit of review. You've done a lot of the same stuff in Java, except you might have built everything manually instead of being able to click and drag it over like you can here. You might have built it in code. So I'm going to go ahead and save our project. Do a save all. And let me see here, I don't think I have my Solution Explorer up at the moment. So let me go, if you don't have, like if you're looking for a window, here's my Solution Explorer. But if you're looking for a window and you don't have it, you can always go up here to the Views menu, View, and you can view your Solution Explorer, you can be able to view your files in your solution. Output, if maybe you have a console application. But the main one we'll be using is the Solution Explorer. So if for whatever reason you ever close it, you can open it back up again here in the View menu. So that being said, if you ever want to figure out where your application is saved, maybe you saved it or you didn't choose a target location, you can actually come up here and open your solution, which is the highest level of your project, in your folder in File Explorer. So right click, open File Explorer, and it'll actually show you where your solution is saved on your PC. So I set it as the default location, so now it's under this PC, Documents, etc., all the way down to here. And then it will give me a folder for where my project is located. So if I open this folder, you can see that all of my C# files are here. Here's my form code, here's my form designer, which is my UI elements. Here's my application, and if we come over here, you can see that it's a Visual C# project file. So this is probably, at this level, the most important file in your application. So your project file has all of the stuff your application needs to run. So I don't know if it'll let me, it might not let me open it. I don't have like Notepad or anything installed here. But if you open this project file with, say, Notepad or something like that, you'll be able to see all of the files that make up your application and also the file that your application needs to run. So if I went back here, let's go ahead and copy this path. Copy. Let's close out of my application. And then if I do a Windows E and open my File Explorer, I'm going to go ahead and copy paste up here. And now I'm back in my application. So if maybe I'm not in Visual Studio, I'm looking at my files, I can come here and double click my solution, and I should go straight to my Windows form again. And it knows to do that because it looks at my project file and knows the project that runs when my solution's clicked on. So here's my button that I put on the application again. So I'll close it again here, and whenever you submit your applications for me to grade them, it's very important to kind of watch what I do here. So here's my solution in your project folder. So I want to go one level higher to my projects, and it'll show you projects that I have here. And here's our first Windows Forms application. So this is my folder and the solution packaged all in one. So what you want to do is go to right click, send to a compressed zip folder. If you have 7-zip or something like that installed, you could use that also. But this is easier just because it's already built into the Windows environment. And then this is what you should upload whenever you go to submit your final project or any assignment that we have for the class. That way, once I unzip it, I have this folder here that has your project files and your solution files.